Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dr. Gilead Show at WBGR and Facebook Live. This is Dr. Theodore Oswala, your host. I welcome you to today's show. We are broadcasting from WBGR Radio, and we're on Facebook Live. Today, you can call on 301-429-9247, 301-429-9247. If you have any questions, if you have any contributions, or if you are going through what we're going to talk about today. All right. Thank you, Victor, for joining. Today, before we always start, I'd like to say this, as you all know now. Please do not use what you hear on this platform to make a diagnosis for yourself or to diagnose someone else. Also, do not treat yourself or a family member based on what you hear on this platform. But also, I want to say that it's better you go see a trained professional, a doctor, a therapist, to get a better diagnosis of yourself and get the right treatment. It also would be good to get the appropriate treatment. But also, I want to say that Dr. Gilead Show, and of course, Dr. Theo Oswala, is not responsible for whatever anyone does based on what they hear on this platform. So today, we will talk about obsessive compulsive disorder. Obsessive compulsive disorder, what we call OCD. And I know a lot of people know about OCD. That is what we're going to talk about today. OCD is part of the anxiety disorder spectrum. If you remember last week, we talked about the anxiety syndrome illness, the group of illnesses of anxiety disorder, and we talked about generalized anxiety disorder. OCD is part of that spectrum, and today we're going to talk about OCD. But the other illnesses that might be related to OCD are things like body dysmorphic disorder, hoarding disorder, and also things like trichotillomania, also excoriation disorder. These are all symptoms of, these are all presentations when people have different anxiety disorders. For example, excoriation disorder is skin picking. There are people who are always picking on their skin. They pick every time. They pick every minute, everywhere. There are people who, the way their body is, they just do not like it. Even though they look so handsomely beautiful, they're not happy about their lips. They're not happy about their eyes. They're not happy about any part of their body. They have body dysmorphic disorder. But today, we shall stay focused on obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. OCD is characterized by obsessions and compulsions. So what are obsessions? Obsessions are recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, or images that are expressed, and these thoughts are intrusive and they are unwanted. So people have these obsessions about things, and it's happening all the time. It is troubling, and they can't stop it. They don't like it, but they just keep having those thoughts. Sometimes they see those images in their mind's eye, and it happens all the time. Now, what happens? People find ways, they try to develop ways of trying to help overcome these obsessions, and they end up having behaviors that are persistent, so they have compulsions. So these compulsions are repetitive behaviors or mental acts that an individual feels that, and these are driven to perform in response to an obsession or according to rules that must be applied rigidly. So people have these obsessions. So what do? They develop ways of trying to overcome these these obsessions. So they end up having these repetitive behaviors that help them initially to overcome those obsessions, and they end up doing it every single day, every minute, and it affects their whole life. So the obsessions and the compulsions begin to run their life. Before I go further, I want to say that if you have OCD or you have a family member that has OCD, please feel, and you have a question, feel very free to call with any questions, or even talk about your feelings or your experiences. Call on 301-429-9247 onto Dr. Gilead Show. Call back on 301-429-9247 if you have experience with OCD, or you know someone who has similar experience, or you have questions, or you need some advice. So feel free to call on that phone number, Dr. Gilead Show at WBGR Radio. Okay, so now for anyone to be diagnosed with OCD, the person must have these obsessions and also must have compulsions. But let's look at, in our usual way, let's look at how many people have OCD. In our country, United States, of 318 million people, the prevalence is 1.2%. And that translates to 3.8 million people having OCD in America. That is a huge number. So out of about every 10 people, one person has OCD. Out of every 100 people, about 10 to 12 people have OCD. It's not a small number. So it is worth talking about. It's worth looking into, and that is why Dr. Gilead Show is here to talk about it. Hey, Candice, I see you. Thank you for joining. Oh, Brad Matthews, thank you for joining. And thank everyone that is connected at this time. Now, worldwide, all over the world, the same prevalence. In any country you go, any nation you go, you have about 1.2% that have OCD. Now, it's known that females are affected slightly more than males in adulthood. So when you look at a group of adults, you have a little more females that have OCD than males. But in childhood, it's known that males have more OCD than the females. And who knows why? Probably because as the men grow older, they are able to somewhat manage their symptoms. And because men always feel macho, they don't go get help. So they don't get into the statistic of the number of people who have OCD. But also it's known that OCD presents on average age of age 19 for both male and female. But it's known that in males, it starts as early as 14 years. So that can account for why we have more younger men with OCD than younger females. So you can see that could be the reason for that. Now, also, people with obsessive compulsive disorder are affected by other mental illnesses. A classical example is major depressive disorder, which we have talked about on this show. 67% of people who have obsessive compulsive disorder also have OCD. That is a huge number. Also, 25% of people who have OCD also have phobic disorders, social phobias. They can't interact with people. When they come to an open place with a lot of people, they feel nervous, they feel anxious. A lot of the times they have panic attacks. And what do? They end up isolating in their rooms, in their homes. Okay, so this is how much OCD affects people in our population, in our society, in our neighborhood. So you can see it's not a small number. It affects a lot of people, and it's worth talking about. All right, let's look at what really is the cause of OCD. Who knows? There are a lot of mental illnesses that we really don't know the cause. OCD could be genetically transmitted. There's a genetic component to OCD. And this is based on the fact that 35% of first-degree relatives of those who have OCD as well. So if you have one person who has OCD, you will have about 3 to 4 people in his or her family that has OCD. So this must be genetically transmitted in some way. Now, we always talk about some chemicals in the brain. These are called neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitter that is mainly related to OCD is a neurotransmitter serotonin, which is the one that also is implicated in depression, or a lot of people who have depression. So you have a genetic component, mostly transmitted from father, mother to a child. It could jump a generation, but you could see that a lot of it is happening in the same family. You also have the psychosocial part of it. And a lot of theories have been put out there to purport the cause of OCD. Now, everyone has a normal stimuli to a situation. For example, nobody wants to put their hand in urine of somebody else. Nobody wants somebody's saliva all over their body. Now, what happens is the person that has OCD will become unnecessarily will worry unnecessarily about other people's fluid, body fluid. And you discover that they become very distressed. They become afraid of things that really they shouldn't be afraid of. They worry excessively. They develop anxiety. But what happens? They finally discover that there is something they could do to relieve that anxiety. What do? They begin to do the same thing. For example, they touch something, they wash their hands. They touch something, they wash their hands. So what do? They continue to wash their hands even when they have touched where there is really nothing to worry about. So they develop active avoidance, and they also develop strategies to overcome it. And that leads them into the compulsion or ritualistic behaviors to control the anxiety. And gradually this becomes a behavior. But because it relieves the anxiety, they become fixated on it, and it leads to a compulsive behavior. So the social part of it is great. If there are people who are genetically predisposed, but yet, because they're not exposed to situations, it doesn't really happen. Now, some OCD people, or some people who have OCD, could also have a situation where something happens. Someone breaks into their house. From then onwards, they become excessively worried about people breaking into their windows. So what do? They go check the windows every minute. Every 10 minutes they wake up, they go check the windows. They end up not sleeping. So these are a kind of protective mechanism originally devised to overcome a worry, but it becomes excessive, and that is a compulsion, and it begins to take over their life. It's a huge problem, and that is why we're talking about OCD today on Dr. Gilead's show. All right, so let's look at the presentation of OCD. And before I go into that, I want to also say that if you have OCD, or you know someone who has OCD who wants to share their experience, you can call 301-429-9247 on WBGR radio, and we'll answer your questions. We'll take it, and people will share and know more about your experience, and we can also give you advice on this platform. But let's look at how OCD presents. I see Ms. Trotman, Carol Ann Trotman, thank you for joining. And Kachi from Canada, Princess Tonya from Canada. Wow, thank you for joining. I hope this is going to be very, very informative for you. All right, let's look at the presentation of OCD. The obsessions. The obsessions are recurrent and persistent. That is, it happens all the time and is unrelenting. So these are thoughts. It could be someone, they're just thinking about it, they're worried about it. It could be impulses, things that they don't have control over, or images that is in their mind. And these are all experienced at some point during the period of disturbance. Now, the thoughts are inappropriate, and most importantly, they cause marked anxiety and distress. So they're thinking about this, they're worried about it, they're focused on it, their life is all about it. They can't stop. And they just keep going and going. Classical examples are, for example, people could be concerned or they feel so disgusted about, say, fecal matter, stool, or urine, or saliva, as I said before, dirt, germs, or environmental toxins. These are things that, and I have seen people who, they think that, somebody just peed on the floor, or somebody just went to the bathroom and they did not wash their hands, so urine must be on the table. Or they think, in the air here, there are toxins everywhere. And they focus on it, they worry about it, and everybody goes about their business in the office. Nobody is thinking that way. But this singular person continues to feel that way and is tormenting to her. Other obsessions are like things like fear of something terrible happening. They think that, fire is going to happen. For example, somebody comes into this studio where we are and he thinks fire is going to happen. They want to jump out. They want to make sure the door is open. They're looking for ways of escape if the fire comes. And there's no reason for that. But sometimes they may have had some fire incident in their house, and because of that, they become incessantly worried about fire and how to escape. Sometimes they worry about death of a loved one, death of a parent, death of children. There's no reason for them to worry about, because the parents are healthy, family members are healthy, but they keep worrying every day. Some are worried about dying. They just worry that they could die, but they don't have any reason to feel that way. They get their physical exam, they're healthy, they get a clean bill of health from their doctors, so there's no reason to worry. But in their thoughts, they keep worrying about it. And it goes from cycling, they go every day in and out thinking about something bad happening. There have been reports of people who are obsessed about praying or religious concerns, and Usually this is out of keeping with their present religious background. So they are so obsessed about it, and you can't tell them anything. There are those that are obsessed about lucky numbers or unlucky numbers. I have seen someone who, if a room is labeled 11, he's not going to go into it. And he cannot make out why the number 11 is so, he's so afraid about the number 11. There's no reason for that, but once he sees the number 11, he's so worried. That's an unlucky number for him. Some people are so obsessed about the number 7 because some religions feel that number 7 is a great number, it's a lucky number, it's a perfect number. Those things happen. Some people are obsessed about forbidden or perverse sexual thoughts, and it keeps recurring. I've seen someone who she's just obsessed about sex with an animal. It's not that she wants to have sex with an animal, but she's just worried that some people may be having sex with animal. And if she sees someone that is walking their dog, that's the first thing that comes to her mind. Or she sees someone with a cat or any animal, the first thing is this person is having sex with the dog. And she keeps away from animals. She doesn't want to interact with animals. Some people are obsessed with intrusive sounds or words or music, and it just keeps going in their head. And I want to say that these thoughts or these images are not just simple excessive worries about real life problems. No, everybody worries about a dirty toilet seat. Yeah, but you clean it up and you sit down and do your thing. But people with obsessive compulsive disorder, they will clean, they have hand sanitizer with them, they will clean it over and over. They may spend hours in the bathroom cleaning, even before they use it. So the worries are excessive, above real life situations. Now, but the thing there is these persons with OCD, they attempt to ignore or suppress such thoughts or impulses. So they know that, come on, man, something is not right. I'm not doing something right. But they can't help themselves. They know that it's not right. They know that it's overboard. But they try to ignore it. They can't. They try to suppress it. They cannot. Or then they try to do things to neutralize such thoughts or actions. That is the problem with the obsessions. They clearly recognize it, that these thoughts are out of norm. So what do? They develop strategies to overcome it. And that's where the compulsions come in. Now, during this time they are obsessing, it affects their life, it affects their families, it affects their children, it affects their wives or husband, as the case may be, even co-workers. But it's something they're struggling with, so they find ways to manage it. But I want you to stay tuned, don't go away. We're going to take a short break, and we'll go to the compulsive part of it. You're still tuned to Dr. Gilead Show at WBGR Radio. Please don't go away. Take this number down, 301-429-9247. 301-429-9247. You can call in if you have OCD, share your experience. Also, you can ask questions, and we'll be able to answer them. I see Celeste Smith-K. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Kachi, Antonia, all of you. Thank you, Victor, for joining. Stay tuned, and we'll be back after the break.
I've got just the solution to get you everything you want and everything you need in one spot. Skip the mall and go to your computer. Log on to www.skylineclothing.net, and I bet you won't regret it. Skylineclothing.net. We've got you covered. Hi, it's your friendly Avon representative, just in time for the holidays. You can order Skin So Soft, all of your makeup products, toys, clothing, and so much more. But guess what? You do need a representative in order to order Avon. So you can order online and have the products shipped directly to you. All you have to do is log on to www.youravon.com/2blessed. That's www.youravon.com, the number 2blessed.
Yeah.
Happy shopping and enjoy your products.
Have you ever wanted to get involved and service your community? My name is Adrienne Somerville, and I am the president and founder of the Carolyn E. Parker Foundation, a 501c3 organization. We are focused on educating and empowering our youth, supporting Alzheimer's research, and warming the hearts and souls of the homeless. If you would like to learn more information about our programs and upcoming events, please visit our website, thecarolyn.eparkerfoundation.org. Additionally, feel free to like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. We can be reached at 240-577-5753. Again, that's 240-577-5753. And we look forward to partnering with you.
Okay. All right, welcome back to Dr. Gilead Show at WBGR Radio. We're talking about obsessive compulsive disorder. And you can call us live at 301-429-9247, 301-429-9247, and join the show. If you have OCD or you have someone who has OCD, you have the experience, you have experienced the symptoms, call in and share your experience. If you have any questions or you need some help, please call in and we'll be able to answer your call. Thank you, Mr. Weyer. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for joining. All right, we've talked about the obsessions, and we're going to talk about the compulsions now. So the compulsions are repetitive behaviors. So these are behaviors that people put up continuously to overcome or to reduce the anxiety that the obsessions cause them. And examples are things like excessive or ritualized hand washing. I've seen someone who washes his hands over 300 times a day. So he steps out of the bathroom, he tries to get the paper towel, and in course of getting the paper towel, his fingers will touch the table where the paper towel is. He goes back to the bathroom to wash. So he's shuttling between where the paper towel is and the bathroom. So he's washing constantly. There are people who have some excessive behaviors like bathing. They take their shower over and over and over. There are people who brush their teeth several times a day. They brush, they go to the mirror, they look at their teeth, and they don't feel clean enough. They go back and brush. Other people comb their hair. They carry a comb wherever they go. They are obsessed about how their hair looks, or they think that by the time they move their hair, the shape of the hair has changed, so they keep combing. So these are examples of obsessions, of compulsions to fix the obsession. There are people who have compulsion to arrange things in a particular order. They want things to be in an orderly manner. For example, I have someone, if you go to his house, every single empty bottle of drink he has had, from soda to liquor to orange juice, the containers, the empty containers are all arranged in his house. and neatly arranged. And you tell him, hey man, why do you keep these things? Oh, they look clean, they look good. He arranges them. Everything in the refrigerator is arranged in a particular order. And if you mess with it, he will be so upset. There are people who check doors. They get into their car. They say, oh, did I lock the door? They go back, they check the door. So for 1 hour on their way to work, they're shuttling between their car and the door. They check the door, they get back to their car. The thought is, I didn't lock the door. They go back. They say, oh, I locked the door. And they keep doing it. So they check doors. Some people check their stove. They wake up, they go check their stove. They drive halfway to work. They return to their house to check the stove. This could stem from possibly some fire incident, and because of that, they want to make sure their house doesn't catch fire. So what do? They check the stove all the time, but it now runs their life. That is a compulsion. Some people lock their doors and they come make sure they lock it. Some check their appliances. There's a guy, all he does is every other week he takes his car to the dealership for the brakes to be checked. And they say, we just checked it last week. Oh yeah, I needed to check it again. I needed to check it again. So they keep checking the car brakes. These are all compulsions. Some people they have compulsions of cleaning. I've seen someone who will clean the floor, clean, and there's nothing else to clean, but they still clean. Sometimes they get into conflict with their children because they don't want anyone to even step on the floor in their living room. They are so obsessed about things dropping on the floor, about dirty stuff. They vacuum. They wake up in the middle of the night to vacuum. They remove contaminants. And when you ask, they say it's dirty. And you say, no, there's nothing here on the floor, but they still vacuum. They can't help themselves. And they look, they know that there's really nothing here, but still they vacuum, they clean. So these are examples of compulsions. There are people who touch things. Before they get out of their house, they need to touch 5 places. They touch 5 places, then they get out. If they forget to do it, they come back and follow that same pattern of touching 5 places before they go out. Others count. Before they get on the elevator, they count 6. And if the elevator opens up before the count of 6, they're not going to go with that elevator. They wait until they count 6. So these are compulsions that people do. And some people repeat rituals. Like they go in and out of the door, or when they're getting into a room, they don't get into the room frontwards. They open the door, they back into the room. For what reason? They can't help themselves. Some people, when they are leaving their apartment, they walk by the right side. They walk through by the wall on the right side, and you see, if they miss it, or if there's a block or there's an obstruction, they will turn around and make sure they walk through that right part of the apartment. These are compulsions. So these are measures to prevent harm to self or others originally, but now it becomes a compulsion. There are people who hang their clothes in a particular order. If you change that order, they get so angry, they get so upset. That is a compulsion. And hoarding and collecting things are part of compulsion. Anything they see, they like it, they must take it, they must bring it, and they must keep it in their house. There are others who have some mental acts, like praying. They have to pray in a certain order. And if they start praying in a different way, they stop themselves and they turn around and they go and pray in a different way. Others we count, others we repeat words silently because they feel that they have to do this. They are driven to perform this response to an obsession or according to the rule that must be applied rigidly. So they stick to it. Doesn't it sound frustrating? It's a torture on this person. They know it's not real. They know they shouldn't do it, but they cannot help themselves. I see a lot more people calling in. Teresa Smith, thank you. Thank you for calling in. We are talking about obsessive compulsive disorder. Teresa says, what illness are we talking about? We're talking about obsessive compulsive disorder today, OCD. So these behaviors or these mental acts, which we call compulsions, are aimed at reducing or preventing the distress or anxiety or some dreaded event or situation. So they look at a situation that is causing anxiety for them. They want to stop it. So they find ways to help themselves. It becomes a ritual. But of most importance is that these behaviors are in excess. And they are not really connected in a realistic way with what they are actually designed to neutralize. Why would someone count 5 before he opens his door? If he doesn't count 5, he's not going to open the door. If he doesn't count 10, he's not going to get on the elevator. So these are, sometimes you see that these things are not really connected or related to the compulsions that they are carrying out. Now, I want you to know this, that at one point, the person who has OCD would realize or would have realized that the obsessions and compulsions are excessive and unreasonable. So they look, they say, what am I doing? Sometimes they ask their spouse or they ask their close friends, man, why am I going through this? And someone will try to talk them out of it, yet they will not. They continue to do what they're doing. They understand that it's excessive and it's unreasonable, but they still continue to do it. That's why it becomes a problem. And also, this obsession and compulsion cause severe distress. That is, they can't, it becomes a pain to them. It's time consuming. And you wonder, how can someone spend over an hour in a day turning around, doing the same thing? Going to the car, returning to the house, checking the door, making sure she or he locked the door, and he gets to the car, he comes back again. Or he drives halfway to work, turns around with all the traffic, comes to the house, opens the door, goes to the kitchen, checks the stove. The stove is not on. There's no fire. He goes back. Halfway, he comes back. It is a torture. It's a pain. And this generally affects the person's normal life. It disrupts the routine of life for this person. It affects their occupational and academic performance if they are students or in school. It also affects their social activity, and it also affects their relationship with other people. That is OCD. It really slows people down. It really affects their life. It messes their routine up. Now, I want us to quickly take a look at how it affects the lives of this person, of these people, the lives of the family members, and the lives of people, or as a people, as a society. How does OCD affect each and every one of us? First of all, let's look at how it affects the individual. A question Smith is asking, is there a treatment for OCD? Definitely there is a treatment for OCD, and I will get to that in a minute. So stay tuned. Stay tuned on Dr. Gilead's show. We'll come to the treatment of OCD, and we'll see how people have gotten help, how people have done well, I also see Mr. Yomi. Thank you for calling in, for tuning in. Thank you. I will come to that answer, Ms. Smith. So, how does OCD affect the life of the individual who has it? This is an illness that tortures people. Now, can you imagine an individual who is having a compulsion, an obsession and compulsion? So what he does, he ruins his life completely. He can spend the whole day shuttling between the bathroom and his kitchen. This is someone who wakes up, wants to go take breakfast. He gets to the kitchen. He says, okay, I need to wash my hands. He goes to wash his hands. He comes back to the kitchen or the kitchen table, tries to take paper towel. In course of taking paper towel, his fingers will touch the table. He goes back to wash his hands. So the next 1-2 hours, she is washing hands. She's between washing his hands and trying to dry it. She's back and forth for an hour or two. Before she knows it, the day is almost gone. So it affects the individual. It affects their work. They end up not being productive at work because they are missing work time. They're turning around doing the same thing. The individual knows that this is not right, it's excessive, but they can't help themselves. That is the effect on the individual. But also, it affects the individual's relationship with their significant other. Can you imagine you and your girlfriend or boyfriend, as the case may be, you have a date to go out, and you get to her house, you pull up in front of the house, and you call her. Hey, I'm downstairs, can you come down? And they come down, they get to the car, they say hello to you, they say, oh, I need to go check my stove. They run up, they come back, and they open the door of the car, and they said, oh no, I need to go check something. They run back. This time, because they know that it will look stupid, they wouldn't tell you about the stove. They say, no, I need to go check something. I need to go check something. They go back. So you're spending the next 30 minutes to 1 hour. You're spending the next 30 minutes to 1 hour shuttling between the car and your house. Your date time is gone. Your date time is being disrupted. The boyfriend will get upset. The boyfriend may cancel the date and go back home. So it affects their relationship with people. Also, OCD can affect family members, their children, their siblings, their spouse, and the parents. Can you imagine you tell your child to go get ready for school, and they get into their room, 1 hour, you get back there, they haven't even taken a shower. They're still shuttling between the bathroom and their room. They go in and out, or they get in the shower, they come out, they dry their body, and they say, well, what am I doing? No, I haven't really showered enough. They go back to the bathroom. It takes a strong family member to really understand. It affects relationships. So people get upset. People get upset with their family member, their children, their spouse, because they do not really understand the torture this family member is going through. It also affects the society. It affects productivity at work. At a job place, everyone has his or her responsibility. So you have someone who has OCD. He gets to the office. The first thing he does or she does is to clean the table. She takes the first hour to clean. And she takes another 2 hours in the bathroom if she has to use the bathroom. By the time she cleans, uses the bathroom, or maybe have a handshake with somebody, goes to wash the hands, the day is gone. The person becomes unproductive at the job place. The job suffers. The society suffers. There's loss of time from work. These are all the effect on the family. Now there is a question here: what is the difference between OCD and addiction? OCD and addiction, and I will guess addiction. This caller is talking about addiction to substances. Both OCD and addiction are similar in the sense that the person wants to, for example, a guy who uses cocaine really knows that, fine, he gets some kick, some high out of drugs, out of the cocaine. He's spending all his money, he's selling all his property, he pawns everything he has, he ends up becoming homeless. He loves the feel, he loves the kick from the cocaine, but he's lost everything. He wants to stop, but he cannot. But that is an external incentive, I call it, because once you start doing cocaine, there is a satiety center, an addiction center in the brain, where cocaine has an effect. And that effect is why people keep doing it. Because they are addicted to it, they can't stop doing it. So it's not really, but in OCD, they know that this is not right. It doesn't make sense washing my hands 100 times a day. There is no real gain in it. There is no satisfaction in it. But they can't help themselves. So they just want to continue to do it. But the guy that does drugs, whether it be pain medications, opiates, or other medications that affect our central nervous system, these give you some good feeling, some feeling of high, some feeling of happiness, some feeling of excitement because of the neurotransmitter that is increased, especially with cocaine or things like phencyclidine, things like dopamine. Dopamine gives you a kick. So that's why people continue to do it, despite the fact that they are losing time, money, and they're losing everything they have. But in OCD, they just cannot help themselves because they want to counteract this action, this effect. But also someone is going to tell me, someone who does heroin, a lot of people continue to do heroin because of the withdrawal symptoms they have. And we're going to talk on addictions another day on this platform. But the problem with addiction is that people are hooked onto substances, whether it be addiction to pornography or addiction to substances. People are addicted to it. While in OCD, these are behaviors or thoughts that are bothering them, so they devise means to overcome it. And in course of trying to overcome those obsessions, they end up doing it every day. Those are the differences. But I guess we'll make it clearer when we treat substance abuse. I see Miss Cookie, Lolo Cookie, thank you for tuning in. I want to quickly run to treatment of OCD. Our time runs so fast on this program. But treatment of OCD. There are two major ways of treating most mental health illnesses. One is medication, which is psychopharmacology. Also, we have psychotherapy. For OCD, the medications that are approved by the Food and Drug Administration are mostly serotonin-specific reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, and the one that has the indication mostly is the medication called fluvoxamine or Luvox. Others are Prozac, paroxetine or Paxil, as well as sertraline or Zoloft. These have all been approved to treat OCD. And because serotonin, they increase the level of serotonin in the brain or in the central nervous system, these medications help reduce the obsession. It also calms the people down because obsessions provoke a lot of anxiety. when they take the medications, it reduces the obsession and the compulsion, it reduces the anxiety, and they calm down. Fluvoxamine and the other medications, you really need to go this effect. And we know that these medications have been very, very helpful. Also, there are older medications like the what we call the tricyclic antidepressants, like clomipramine. This was also approved, but this medication is very dangerous. If people take overdose of it, it could cause the heart to shut down, and the person will die. So most people run away from these medications. The anxiety that comes from OCD, sometimes we use benzodiazepines, which are the medications we use for generalized anxiety disorder. As we said the other day, benzodiazepines help to calm the person down. Things like clonazepam and diazepam, the popular Valium, these help to calm the person down. Now, the other very reliable and effective way of treating OCD is psychotherapy, and mostly behavioral therapy. This is as effective as medication. I used to know many years ago, about 10 years ago, I had a patient who had OCD, more of washing his hands, and all we did was psychotherapy, behavioral therapy, and he did well. He did so well. There are different therapies that could be used, and I'm going to run through some of them. One of them is called exposure and response prevention. Exposure and response prevention. Remember, people are obsessed about something. People are obsessed about some dirty floor, some dirty toilet seat. Now, some people are obsessed about fecal matter, physics. So what do you do in exposure and response prevention? You involve the person with OCD to face his or her fears. For example, someone who is worried that some guy had just used the bathroom and touched the table, so there must be some urine on the table. So in working with this person in exposure and response prevention, they put their hand on the table, put their fingers on the table, and you both agree that you're not going to wash your hands. It's a torture, it's painful, but he sticks to it. As long as he sticks to it, and you continue to do that procedure, and when they do that, you ask, how do you feel? What is going on? What are your worries? And they talk about it, and in course of talking about it, they forget that they have to wash their hands. They have overcome it for that day. And once it's repeated several times, it becomes part of them, because they are then refraining from the ritualizing that they have. So they can touch the toilet seat and not wash their hands. Now, the other forms of treatment, and this is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. So the people look at their situation, look at why they're doing what they're doing, and try to change it. That is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. The other ways that you can treat OCD is what we call systematic desensitization. Now, they are hypersensitive. That means they are overreacting. They are overjudging what they're doing. They are worried too much about dirty environment. They are worried too much about their door not being locked. They're worried about something happening to their children. So what do? You slowly make them not to check the door. You slowly desensitize them. You take them to the place. Okay, the door is locked. You think the door is locked? No, I want to go check. Okay, go and check. They go and check. Is the door locked? Yes, it's locked. They come back. And you want to move to the next level. They want to go check the door. You say, no, you can't. Don't worry about it. The door is locked. Remember, we just checked. It's a pain. It's a struggle. And by the time they go through it systematically, slowly, day after day, week after week, they begin to know that, whoa, that door is really locked. I've checked it. It's locked and it's locked. So they go through that obsession. and the compulsion, and it begins to wane, it begins to decrease gradually. There are people who are completely obsessed about say a dirty floor. They can't step on a floor that is not clean. So you can do flooding. Flooding is you put the person into the situation that they are worried about. Throw them right into it. If it's the floor in the bathroom, where possibly there could be urine, you take them there. And most people will freak out. Most people will get nervous. Most people will begin to sweat. They may have palpitations. They may become very nervous, but they sit there. They sit there or stand there and nothing happens. That is flooding. You take them there and they stay there, and over time they calm down and they see that, whoa, I stood on a floor that is dirty, a floor that is not swept or mopped, but nothing has happened. By the time you expose them several times, it becomes part of them to step into a place, to touch a table and not wash their hands. These are all some of the treatments that people can get with regards to psychotherapy. Now also, because we are not islands, we don't live alone, we have families. Family therapy is another way of treatment that can support the individual as well as the family. In family therapy, the family is taught about OCD. It's explained to the family members why their family member, why the father or the son or the daughter or the mother is going through what they're going through. It's not that they don't want to leave the house. It's not that they don't want to eat when they want to eat. It's not that they want to go late to work. No, but they have a problem that requires a lot of understanding. And you have family therapy with the family members there. Everybody understands what OCD is. My experience is every time I have brought in a patient's relative, the patient gets better because they have the family members have better understanding of what they're going through. And not just OCD, but other types of illnesses. Family members do well, and once family members give a support, the patient does very well. We also have group therapy. In group therapy, people with similar problem come together in a room, 4 or 5, maximum 10 people. Everyone sits down, talks about their obsessions and compulsions, what they go through. Some will begin to say how they've been able to get out of the situation, how they've been able to manage their situation. And once they say that, other people learn from it. They learn from it, and they begin to put it into practice, and they enjoy how much relief they get. They know that, okay, true, nobody should put urine on the floor, or people go to the bathroom, their hands may touch urine, but they wash their hands anyway. So I shouldn't worry about it. They learn from what others have done and from what the facilitator of the group is saying, and they put it into practice. And gradually, they begin to do well. That is group therapy. Now, the question is, what do you do when you have OCD? I mean the individual that has OCD. You that is listening to me who probably has OCD, what do you do? Now, there are people who are specially trained for treatment of OCD. There are doctors, there are psychiatrists, physicians who are specialized in psychiatry, and their subspecialty is treatment of OCD. They can help you. You are not alone. I see a lot of people. If 1.2% of people have OCD, then you know that it's not just you alone. So go get help. You can look for providers. Look for people who have special treatment in OCD, and they will help you. Also, family members. Sometimes it's hard for the individual that has OCD to help himself or to look for help. You can find help for them and encourage them to go get help. There are individual providers and therapists, but also we have National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI. We have it here in Maryland. We also have it all over the country. And you can also call NAMI, Google NAMI, and call them. There are teachings every day about different mental illnesses, and you can benefit from the treatments and information you will get. There is also International OCD Foundation. They have centers all over America. You can also get help from any of these places. So I want you to know that OCD is a treatable illness. You can get help. You can come to us. You can get the right treatment. You can also get therapy from our therapists, and you can also look for any provider that is trained, and they can help you. I want to thank you for tuning in today into today's show, Dr. Gilead Show. I'm Dr. Theo Osuala. I'm a psychiatrist, and I treat OCD. We are located at 9470 Annapolis Road, 9470 Annapolis Road, suite number 117, and this is in the city of Lanham, Maryland. The zip code is 20706. You can call us on 301-577-9111, 301-577-9111, or you can also send us a tweet, or you can get to us on Facebook. We are willing to help you. You can come in and receive the help that you need. And I want to thank you again for tuning in on Dr. Gilead's show today. We are here every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard U.S. time at WBGR Radio and on Facebook Live. Thank you for tuning in on this show. We'll see you again next week on Thursday at 1 p.m. Thank you.